put this stage on for 500 plus viewers, with you. And the only way you're getting sealed product from us, honestly, is by coming in store and playing. So
you got to be a team here. You got to join a team, George.
Yeah. Listen, I think every ink is just so good, and how they like.
What's up, everybody? We are back today with George Machado of PPG Games. He is our founder. He has already hit the ground running with Lorcana and the OP scene. So, George, how are you doing this wonderful morning?
Awesome. Love it. I love all the new exciting news around Lorcana right now. Super
Just
hot.
Got Chapter 2 yesterday.
yeah. A bunch of cool events lined up. So super excited.
Awesome. So, of course, we had you on the show a couple weeks ago. We're talking about the Lorcana Tour that PPG Games is currently hosting. And we already hit NDK in Colorado. Just if you wanted to, do you want to just touch on this top 8 real quick? And, I think a lot of people don't know this, but you're a player first, right? So you were there, you were on the ground covering everything, having some stream difficulties with setting up a UGD camera, right? So no, but how did you feel about the event as a whole?
It was awesome. I think with the, if you take into account all the factors kind of leading into it, kind of the short planning that we had, we usually like to plan months out, and the relatively just it was release week, right? So a lot of people, hence our champion too, just didn't even have a play set of Tinkerbells.
Yeah.
And it was really cool to see players still not have a fully optimized deck and still go out here just because the game is just so fun to play. And especially on this competitive level that we kind of put the stage on for 500 plus viewers, with you and, your team, kind of fantastic commentary and just kind of breaking it down for people to kind of just follow. And it's just so engaging. And I really, it was great to see, honestly, firsthand. And I'm really glad that everybody was kind of happy with the prize support, happy with the structure, happy with a lot of these competitive rules that we had to kind of just
on the fly
look at on the fly, kind of take from other well-respected competitive games like One Piece. And honestly, it was all pretty smooth, and we got a lot of good feedback from the players too, because there was some stuff that's wasn't covered and now is covered, or still isn't covered by the recent rules document by Ravensburger. So it's definitely a learning experience, but ultimately I can say it was a huge success, both, for the players that were there and experiencing the tournament, and for those that were kind of watching from home, that you can catch all the rounds on YouTube now and see how far people kind of got with their own brews. I thought that it was going to be overran by, red purple, but everybody kind of brought what, their own little iteration to what they liked, or, what they thought was the best. So,
yeah. Now, on the ground, what was the total player count again? Was it 37?
I think it was 37, 39. Yeah, I think we had 40, almost close to 50 signed up. I guess it was just some no-shows or something.
Right.
But physically sitting down in their seats, I believe it was 37. So it led to a 7-rounder with a top 8 cut, I believe.
6 rounds. 6 rounds.
Yeah, or 6-rounder. Sorry, with a top 8 cut.
I was there for all of it too.
Yeah, I was there. Yeah, the day was very long.
Yeah.
Which is why we're gonna, for Miami, which we'll speak about later, we'll have an untimed top cut. The top cut will happen in day 2, so it doesn't feel like a complete marathon.
Yeah.
Which is what we honestly like to deviate towards, but sometimes there is a venue restriction or room restriction to the point where you only have it. Yeah. So so that one, we're going to go untimed finals, and it's probably going to be, at this point, I believe it's minimum top 16. And if we can get to a top 32 cut, that's fantastic. So,
awesome.
But yeah, no, it was really fun. And honestly, at the end of the day, everybody was happy, even if they, completely lost out and didn't make top cut. So that's a really good to see.
Last question about NDK. Of the player base that was there, did you hear any stories of someone traveling a particular far range to be in Denver?
Man, I know that some players talk to me about it, but I just have so many interactions on the daily that I can't pinpoint the story. But I know some, an avid fan kind of came out, flew out, decked out in Disney.
Awesome.
All that Disney swag with the Mickey and signed by, it was super cool to see the spirit and the banter in between games of a lot of people that just literally traveled just to be, kind of cooped up in that room competing all day, which is, what the true gamer kind of does.
Yeah.
And then those others that kind of just came in, played for a few rounds, and then was able to go and experience all the other different like attractions and things that, you know, the con offered. It was cool to see from both sides, honestly. So, but yeah, I know that for a fact that there was a good handful of people that traveled for the event.
That's awesome.
You know, some people that I saw from other games. You know, I literally saw somebody from Denver, and then the week after, or 2 weeks after, I saw them in Battle Spirits this past weekend in Pennsylvania.
So that was your top 4 player, Ryan, right?
Yeah, Ryan. Yeah.
Yep, touche. Yeah, shout out to him. So, he had a hell of a couple weeks in card
games. Grinding gamer over here.
I follow all games too, George. It's all right.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's fun to see.
All right, so let's talk about something we are definitely going to be traveling to. This is a destination event. I've been saying this from like pretty much since you told me about it. Let's talk about Miami, October 21st and 22nd. And we have the prize layout here. Now, when you guys came out, and we announced this live on stream before the top 8, and there was already excitement building in the stream. Everyone was really pumped. Everyone was really happy. How do we get to this prize layout? Like, why is Miami so specific that we want to go this big for an event?
Well, we had a good amount of planning. Planning is like the number one thing. When you have a good amount of time to let your followers know, especially with the whole product thing, that's why NDK was kind of weird. Like, we didn't know, like, product wise, what to expect, what we were going to have, what we were going to be able to hold on to, what further acquisitions we were able to get. And we had to keep in mind, like, hey, this is not just going to be all for one event. It's going to be for a few. So we got to spread it out. So Miami kind of led to a few different decision points, right? It's a local, right? So it's very easy to kind of get to. We have the marketing, which is the biggest thing, honestly. Like, traveling is not an issue for us, but obviously if we don't have to travel, things become a lot easier logistically for us.
Yeah.
But it's mostly about the timing and being able to like properly market and let players catch up on the card pool, because we understand that not everybody has access to their ideal card pool. They don't have access to their Pixelborn, card pool, right? So people really have to go out there and like grind their locals. If their locals giving out product for playing, which, you know, we highly incentivize, and hopefully we do that in store. That's the only way you're getting sealed product from us, honestly, is by coming in store and playing. So we wanted to make sure that people, if their store was kind of taking a similar stance, they were able to develop in their league, win their leagues, start, getting the idea of how to play competitively, watching great content from you and the other community members, and kind of like seeing what's going on out there in the real world and what's doing well at high profile tournaments, and then kind of just craft and just develop their decks and develop the meta. So we were like, Miami's a great stage to kind of put that all together, tied in with all the illustrators that are going to be there that with Miami TCG Con, who we're partnering with, is really just going all out and had been going all out since the inception of Lorcana. So we were like, this is essentially like a Lorcana Con, right? Like, so why don't
we're gonna overpower Pokemon. It's not even close.
So why don't we just like, this is kind of like a sneak peek of what maybe we can expect from the official Lorcana Tour when that debuts. So we were like, let's put it to, let's really up the stakes, and let's really make it a no-brainer for people to travel out to Miami. I know Miami is a difficult destination for people to maybe make, because maybe it's not within their budget. But the good thing is that Miami has a few airports. So we thought it was pretty accessible if you flew into either Miami or Fort Lauderdale. Those are both like really reasonable options. And we wanted just to make one for the books for sure. So
now, to date, the last time you had looked, what is our player registration up to?
I know we're past 128, and I like to think of it in the little increments of like how it gets to the next round, to the next, like, because if you're new to card games, right, everything has its like threshold of how many rounds, right? So once you get past 8, it's 4 rounds, yada yada. So I know that 128 was our next like benchmark, right? Like, once we crush that benchmark, then we go. The next benchmark is at 256.
Okay.
So once you pass 256, then you start getting into that, I think, top 32 cut. And that's why I mentioned, I'm like, look, I know at 120, what we're at right now is minimum top 16 cut, and I believe 8 rounds.
I think 8 rounds sounds right.
Yeah. So the next benchmark now is you pass that 256, you go into that 9-round territory with the top 32. So that's what we want to get to. And honestly, like, the great thing about the who we're working with, they're very flexible, and I think those floor plans can be adjusted one more time
That's good.
if that demand kind of like hits to where we don't want to turn down people,
Right.
but at the end of the day, space is not indefinite, right? Like it's finite amount. So yeah, right now we're pretty comfortable and pretty happy with the attendance and like what people have kind of expressed to be like a good price support. Like if you compare it to market values, it's plus over $5,000.
It's insane.
Yeah,
If we go
by the day,
if we go to what you can find it on Facebook Marketplace, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. So yeah, no, the good thing is that I think we have a decent amount of people registered, and we have I think all the like them being so flexible with us will allow us to hopefully make sure that everybody is accommodated for.
I think you're glancing by the success of this already, in my opinion. I mean, we just talked about an event that was in Denver. Granted, totally different circumstances, but you only had 37 players for an event that was 2 weeks ago. And you're like, I already have over 128 pre-registered for this event that's in 5 weeks now, something like that. I mean, you got to be excited. The community has to be excited. It's really, really enticing, the whole thing. If you're a competitive player, you want to be there. If you're not even necessarily at like the higher echelon of competitive players, there's still a reason to be in Miami because of all the illustrations and things like that. So you can still come by, see the event, interact with everyone that's going to be there, and even maybe just get a vibe of a PPG and what they're hosting in general to see if it's something you're interested in all honesty. So I think it hits on so many layers. And like you said, like, because TCGCon was so invested in this for months and they've been planning other things, like this is just an addition to that. Like they already had a full force plan, and we're like, no, like we're going to bring this in, and now we're just going to double down on all of that work. And I think that's the most exciting part about it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely super exciting, and it really gives us hope and kind of gives us a better idea of what to plan for in the future, like GalaxyCon and other stops. We already have a few that are near completion, like finalization, as far as tour dates past GalaxyCon. So if you were worried that you weren't going to be able to make Miami or GalaxyCon because they fit on like bad weekends for you, whatever it is, definitely just expect more down the slate. But obviously we're just getting set 2 spoilers, so we don't even know what those numbers on product go. Are they going over chapter 1? Are they going under chapter 1 numbers? Once we kind of get a better idea of that, we can make that a commitment of being like, we're going to have that prize support available for you guys. So, and then depending on how the community likes the 1K this weekend, we might be able to pivot into a cash prize, and that makes things a lot easier for us as far as like event distribution. If the event distribution is a little bit higher now because we're giving cash instead of product, is that better for the community, right? Because then they can use that money to maybe get that product at their, local mass market retailer, as opposed to, trying to get that product, tournament wise, or maybe everybody's got the cards that they need already, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's no way for us to know that at this time.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's like, it's just rolling a D20 at this point, as far as I'm concerned. So we'll have to see how it goes. But speaking of GalaxyCon, is there any type of update what players can expect at GalaxyCon further than our last conversation?
Not really. I think we're in the process of finalizing like the floor plan, making sure that we can have that 2-day footprint there, because I really don't like having the experience of a single day.
Yeah.
It does make it a little bit more, stressful on the player. And, this game, when you're playing it for, 10 plus hours, I mean, it is one of the better games because you can like, they go pretty fast. Like you're not like this super grindy. Yeah. You're not like, imagine if this game had like interaction or counterplay on your opponent.
Yeah. Yeah.
You would just be there for,
there's a lot of like resting time in a way.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we're trying to finalize things for that event. Ideally, our last, I want to say what we want to be like the deadline, like last day that we can announce anything for GalaxyCon is Miami TCGCon, like on stream.
So that's about 6 weeks out again, something in that area.
Exactly. That's like our the latest day that we're shooting. So the goal, we're obviously shooting for something a little bit earlier than that. Yeah.
Sounds good. That's good to hear. All right, so let's talk about your 1K this weekend. You now, granted, just showing if anyone doesn't know, the Twitch on stream now, you guys stream every Tuesday night. You know, we talked about it a couple weeks ago, but you have definitely been doing it the last few weeks, where you know you stream your local Tuesday night gameplay, your league play, right? Is that what it is?
Yep. Every Tuesday we have our Lorcana League, and everybody gets a pack for entry.
Okay.
And it's a good way of us getting product out there. And it's very casual based, so super casual. A lot of people are just playing like starter decks or whatever they have access to.
Mm-hmm.
But it's no commentary. There's no like stream judges or anything like that. Like the judge won't interfere in anything unless they're called over.
Yeah.
So like it's a good way of like seeing what like the standard like person that knows an average amount of Lorcana kind of comes to the table with. And it's always typically table one. So you might see the same person just being the table one champion of the night. Kind of like continuing to win. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good resource to kind of like just learn, because like these are like typical misplays or mistakes that your local like guy might be doing, and something to look out for. But yeah, I mean, we stream a few different games on there, but Tuesday night has been slotted to Lorcana.
What's your attendance been looking like for these?
For the leagues, about 25 to 28, somewhere around there. Yeah, pretty good. Honestly, I think we made it super incentivizing, because for $10 they get a pack and promos, so it's kind of like there's a no lose situation. Yeah,
that's pretty much the average I'm hearing in my area. I'm actually in the meta report coming out this week. We actually have a store in Minnesota they're getting 38 players a week.
That's crazy
for league. And I'm like, that's nuts.
That's awesome.
It's good.
Yeah, what we've seen honestly here is not so much like new players. It's mostly like our players from other games that it's just transitioning, just like cannibalizing. Mostly Magic players. But we're seeing a lot of Magic, a lot of One Piece. Guys and regulars that are just like hyper competitive because they've learned to be competitive from those competitive games, and they're coming into this game. I mean, we get the occasional like wife of the husband that plays Magic, which is really cool to see.
But she loves Disney, and she's like, I want to play this new game.
Yeah. And that's really awesome to see. But no kids or anything. Like maybe it's just the atmosphere of each store and like geographically where you're at, demographically.
Yeah,
where you're
I mean, I can tell you,
university.
I played a 9-year-old in my starter deck event, so like there was definitely.
How
kids.
Dare you?
Hey,
yeah, I mean, one day maybe they get to the Pokemon level and they separate them into divisions.
I think honestly, in my humble opinion, anything is possible at this point.
Yeah.
So interesting.
So, I like how they do that, because in the main events they go and compete against the Masters and the higher age people, but like at the end of the tournament, they're first place in their division. Right. Or second place, however many there are. So like to see that hopefully in the future, but probably for like more nationwide events.
Yeah, it's further away. So what do you think? Let's talk about this 1K for me. You had some specifics on this. What do we have? You had to cap it at 50 players, right?
Yeah, we had to cap it for 50 players. I think our store can seat more, but the way that we have like things set up, they're very like spacey. So like if we want everybody to have a bunch of space and not be elbow to elbow, it's about 64 players. If we really wanted to scrunch people up, like we fit 128 before, but it's not fun or great, you know, and hopefully the AC works that day, right? Because we're in Miami. But yeah, so we have a One Piece pre-release that same weekend too. So we've capped that one lower just to make sure that Lorcana has like the meat and potatoes of the space. But based on like our local attendance, that's already like double what we normally get for locals. So I think that's a pretty good amount. By no means is this one that we've like heavily marketed like the Lorcana OP tour, because we know the price support is standard in a way. We've had a bunch of 1Ks kind of like pop up all over the US. And this is not something that I necessarily expect anybody to travel to, though. If you want to travel to it, you know, obviously that'd be great to, you know, have you kind of experience the storefront and PPG for what it is at the local level. But this is mostly for like all our Magic grinders, all the grinders for other games that are just like heavy into Lorcana right now, and all of them are like super excited about it. So we wanted to give them something like within arm's reach that they can use as kind of like a stomping grounds or like testing for Miami. And depending on how this one goes, we might even debut another one right before Miami to kind of give additional practice to those that kind of like maybe are in town early or in the area or something. But it's just something that we wanted to put on. And
so like a Friday thing, maybe. Is that what you're
yeah,
thinking?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
That's really
exactly,
interesting. Okay.
yeah.
So how
So
close is
we've done it for other games before too.
how
So
close would the store be from the
it's
convention?
about 15 minutes. Yeah.
Oh,
So
that's not far at all. So
it's
even
super
if you're
close.
in town for the weekend, you could always
Yeah.
just hop over and
No,
check
yeah.
out PPG. Yeah,
We're
okay.
literally, if you fly into Miami, we're
Yeah.
about 15 minutes from there, and
Okay.
then the airport is like right next to
It's
Miami
right.
International
It's
Airport.
right
Yeah.
next to
So,
the convention. What's
yes,
the hosting venue again?
Miami International, Miami Airport Convention Center. Miami
Okay, so it is a
Airport
convention center. That's what I thought. I was just making sure. So yeah.
Yep,
So that's
yep,
cool.
yep.
So you guys aren't far at all.
It's a hotel / convention center. So like
Right.
the hotel is attached to the convention center, and it's not like one of the super overwhelmingly large convention centers that you kind of
Sure.
get lost in. This one has like a small little mini mall and a hotel and a convention center kind of like all packed together. But
Okay.
yeah, we're about 15 minutes from there. It's really like literally like if you use the main transportation like highway or whatever, we're off the exit. So it's very accessible. And usually when we run like larger events at that same convention center ourselves, we have a lot of people kind of come in on that Friday,
Nice.
pick up singles from the storefront or pick up whatever they need from the storefront, as
Yeah.
opposed to like, and then like they'll go into the tournament on Saturday. So,
And do you already have Lorcana singles in
yeah,
your?
yeah, we have binders. We have a foil binder, so it has all the foils for those people that really want to upgrade their rarities.
Fair.
We have the base rarity, like rares and above, and then we have like the base rarity commons and uncommons. So it's very easy and accessible for people to like kind of like filter through multiple binders. Everything's alphabetical, everything's priced out, as well as like the additional singles inventory that we have online, which is accessible in store as well too. So
Awesome. Sounds great. So the one last question for the 1Ks, you said you might have another one before then, but is that like a general monthly event that you would have kind of anyway, or is that just a bit special?
Yeah, I mean, it's usually something that we like to do for like various other games, but like in different terms or in different like we'll do case tournaments or something sometimes.
Yeah.
And those obviously like those cases are worse or much more accessible, right? So we always do a case tournament every release for a certain title.
Okay.
It's something that we want to make like a standard thing here, at least for our community, because the Lorcana leagues are so like casual based, and we wanted to run it kind of like Ravensburger kind of intended, as far as like casual, like
build the community,
no,
and
no
then
high stakes, nothing crazy, come play.
Right.
But then we want to be able to also supply and make sure that our competitive players have something to kind of like grind for and want to play for. So we do want to aim, depending on how this one goes, we want to aim for something that's consistently competitive, that falls on a weekend that we could just sit there and game all night, right, and play a top cut, as opposed to like on a weekday, like 3 rounds, okay, we're out, no top cut, like that's league, right? So
fair. All right, so let's speedball some questions. These were questions from the community. I tweeted out and got some questions for you. So the first question is, will there be coverage on site or remote for Miami?
Oh, for sure. We're going to have coverage on site. We'll make the announcements, I guess. But yeah, definitely. Dan over here is going to be helping us out with some fantastic commentary. We have our amazing stream team. We're going to get a whole new setup. We have a really cool stream plan to make sure. Ooh. Obviously, Denver was like a remote setup. So that was our first time kind of like experimenting with a remote setup, because we typically do like all on-site commentary, all on-site stuff. So it was a little bit more skeleton based, based on like what we normally do, but we ran some really high production. Yeah.
We proved we can do it.
That was really cool. Yes, and that was fantastic to see, despite all the like challenges that we kind of like found out on site. But I think it was just still very well received, and we plan on like making so many crazy adjustments to make sure that the viewing experience at home for everybody is just going to be phenomenal.
You always got to, you got to look at it like we just build on that. Even if it's 1% better next time, right? Like we build, we get better. And then, before we know
shout out to everybody on stream that kind of like gave, feedback to it. Because it's definitely got us, looking at what we can potentially do, because Lorcana has so many unique things to it, like the inkwell, that there are cool ways to kind of like approach it and view it on stream. But yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So what is the long-term outlook on this game? Best and worst scenarios, in your opinion, George?
Long-term outlook on the game. I think best case we catch up to demand, right? Because we need to get the cards in the hands of people regardless. Like if you want people to play and or collect your game. Best case scenario is they catch up like Q2 ideally in 2024. I think that's probably the earliest that they'll keep up realistically.
Realistically, I believe that is a perfect and I think it's something that needs to be stated more. It's like this isn't going to happen in October. It's not going to happen in November. It's not going to happen in December, right? Like, so
as much
catching
as we
up,
would like to.
Yeah, as much as it would be
as much as they would like it to.
They would love exactly. If they could do it, they would. It's just logistically not possible.
Yeah, and we've seen this before with larger companies like Bandai. Bandai's 4 titles, you know, and they have the same distribution issues. It's commonplace, you know. Right. But you know, hopefully, you know, it is sooner than that. But we'll see. That's best case scenario. And then with the organized play, they pick that up immediately, seeing the success and the demand that we've kind of created for the game, and several other stores that with their independent events have created for the game. I think if you look at that, you want to just start making some like exclusive OP promos and just like, nationwide OP promos, right? If you got your local OP promos, you want to give some nationwide OP promos.
Yeah, something similar to what they're already doing with like the conventions that they're at, you know, with the Goofies and the Mickeys and things like that.
Yeah, and a lot of them seem very, you know, I mean, like it doesn't seem like it's too difficult maybe to do because of how they approach the promo situation. Right. Like it's not an alt-art Mickey, right? They just put the Gen Con logo. Yeah. Which honestly, something as small as that, right? Like everybody loves. We're happy with that, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of collectors in this game, so.
Yeah, correct. And it's a cool like historic insignia of like commemoration of that event. So it's just, you know, honestly one of the easiest you know, transitions into hey, this is an exclusive OP promo. So I think that's best case, right?
Worst case scenario is they lose the lawsuit, right?
Yeah, worst case, Lorcana, you know, had a great run, 2 sets.
Yeah, like, that's the worst case.
Worst case, yeah, I think worst case. Honestly, I think worst case. Oh man, it's hard because it could be like oversaturation of product and all cards fall and all product falls, but like realistically, that's not. I don't think possible. So I think worst case,
it would be really difficult for that to happen. I think.
Yeah, it would be really difficult, but that's what I'm saying. I'm like, look, you have 2 ends of the spectrum, which are both like terrible, right? Like the oversaturation and overprinting and the devaluation of all assets.
Yeah,
and then the hyper inflation.
Yeah,
and hyper like just you can't find any of this stuff, and like they've all said like, you know, encouraging things online, but are any of them really, you know, feasible and fixable in relatively a short window?
Right.
So yeah, worst case, maybe that problem extends from Q2 2024 to Q4.
Yeah, that would be.
You got a whole year time walk, right?
Yeah.
Of just like,
it would be rough. It would not be fun.
And then delays, and then also delays. Chapter 3, Chapter 4, Chapter 5, because now you have to allocate resources, right? Because now you have a printer. So so yeah, I think that both of those are like worse. And then they just and then to complement that, there's no official organized play by them, so it makes it even harder because that's where maybe you would see an additional stream of product kind of injected into the supply. Yeah, because if you could imagine that if Gen Con Ravensburger was giving out product, you would imagine for their organized play series they would also give out product. Yeah, so I think a perfect storm of all those things. Obviously, both of those scenarios pretty unlikely. I think if you're an avid Lorcana or you're into it, I don't think any of those situations really like low percentage happening.
Yeah.
But honestly, I believe in the team behind Ravensburger, especially Ryan Miller. I've worked with him alongside him with Chrono Clash and making sure that everything kind of like went well with that. So so yeah, I think him and the team will figure it out for sure.
Yeah, I mean they have every intent to, right? I mean,
it's in everybody's best interest, right?
Right, exactly. So the fun question is, what head shaver do you use? This is from your friend
From
Skinner.
Shout out to Skinner, man. He's been a very good local like advocate for the game. He's been really like pushing. He's played Magic from like years ago at our store from when we first came down from West Palm.
Yeah,
5-6 years ago or something.
there you go.
And he's really just been trying to get so many people into the game. He's been really helping people out with like their budget lists and being like, look, you only have access to these commons and uncommons.
Yeah,
fine.
I think
throw
he's
this together.
Specifically making content on that as well.
So it's great. Kudos to him. Shout out to him.
I'll tag him in
his question. Yeah, Gillette, dude. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, the most expensive Gillette razor there was there. I just got that one. So.
All right. So which ink do you think is the best in Chapter 1?
Oh, man. I don't know. They're so good. Honestly.
You got to be a team here. You got to join a team, George.
Yeah. Listen, I think every ink is just so good, and how they like have designed each ink is just so playable. Everything has like, it's like, well, you want to be red for Be Prepared, man. You want to be amber for whatever, Rapunzel. But with that being said, amber, right? Because yellow, PPG yellow, amber,
oh, there you
color,
go.
Rapunzel, Stitch, Pot of Greed. Like, you have all this stuff that's just so good. I love what amber kind of does. Has a little bodyguard, has some drawn Rapunzel,
has big bodyguards,
has Stitch. Yeah, it's just so good. It has Goofy Musketeer. He looks goofy.
Yeah.
It's really fun, honestly. I've been enjoying amber a lot. I've been enjoying amber steel, but more of like a mid-rangey, protect the Hans, bodyguard him up, and ping away and Tinkerbell them to like board wipe. So really fun, honestly. But I have every combination of deck built. So yeah, it's been fun.
All right, you heard it here first. George's Team Amber. There you go.
Team Amber, baby. Let's go.
All right. Well, thank you.
It only makes sense.
Oh, I listen. People are really down on Amber, and it's really starting to come up, and people are starting to realize they're respecting. I think they're respecting.
It's really good. Rapunzel is hell of a card, and I think because a lot of people just don't have access to her.
Yeah,
I mean, she's like $70.
She's like way up there right now. Yeah,
yeah.
She's up there.
It's hard. It's hard to really know how powerful Amber is.
But to the credit, Anthony didn't have Rapunzel, and he still got there. So,
and that's why I love it, because like every deck you can play in different ways. Like just because you're playing Amber doesn't mean you need Rapunzel. But if I'm playing an Amber bodyguard deck, I need Rapunzel. But if I'm playing an Amber combo deck, like our Denver winner, I don't need Rapunzel. I need Stitch.
Right. And he's $50 cheaper or more.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, no, I do agree. I think the very intricate thing about the game is that all of these combinations, you see a deck and you're like, oh, great. But then you look at it and you're like, wait a minute, I could build it this way, or I could actually build it that way. Like, it's really interesting. I think a lot of credit has to be done to the design team on this one. I think it really is great. I think the small power from Chapter 2 that we have seen is just another layer of things that we're going to have to talk about in 8 weeks, but it's all fun. To reconfirm before we get out, Chapter 2 is being set to release in LGS on the 17th of November. The plan is still at this current time to have it legal for GalaxyCon.
Yes, yeah. At this current time, granted, no like delays or anything, and that's why we haven't also like officialized the price support yet, because our plan is worst case it's official. We can't give you product in that. Here's a 1K, 2K, 3K, 4K, 5K, whatever.
Sure.
Best case scenario, legal. We have the product. We make it similar structure to Miami. Okay. So there's a lot of like question marks right now that I don't like to overcommit on.
Right. Yeah. No, I don't want you to.
Super. But yeah, we want to make sure that everybody has access to it. And there's also, I guess, a world where they delay it and it delays past the date, right? Like,
yeah, like I think currently it's all of the like brochures and like graphics and everything all says December 1st.
Yeah, that's why I'm pretty like set that I think it's going to be, fine. Yeah. But we'll see. We'll make announcements. Like I've just wanted to make sure that people for Miami are like super hyped, and then we'll see kind of like how that goes into GalaxyCon.
Fair enough. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me and George this morning. It was a great conversation. Hopefully, we covered all the information for PPG, where you can find them. All the links will be in the description below, per usual. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, George. And we'll catch you in the next video.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.